What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with Reactions to the Classics, and today we have a full album reaction to the great Johnny Cash, American Recordings, brought to us by friend, longtime supporter, and patron of the channel, Carl. Thank you, Carl. Really appreciate you. We're going to be covering all of the American albums, all 5 of them, over the next 5 months, one a month. So appreciate Carl bringing that. I'm really looking forward to it. I love Cash, but I don't know a ton of his stuff. I know all his hits. We got a review up of from early days of the channel of Live at Folsom, one of my favorite albums of all time, actually. So really enjoy that and just love Johnny. He was the epitome of cool and, you know, of honesty and transparency. And I think we're going to get into that in this album because I've done the research for it. So kind of know what we're in store for. This was his 81st studio album, which is insane. Wrap your head around that. Got some pretty good background on it because I think we need to understand how it came about, then we understand how the rest of them comes about. The album marked the beginning of a career resurgence for Johnny, who was widely recognized as an icon of American music, but whose record sales had really tailed off in the late 70s and the 80s. He was approached by producer Rick Rubin and offered a contract with Rubin's American Recordings label, better known for rap and heavy metal, obviously, than for country music. Rubin had seen Johnny perform at Bob Dylan's 30th anniversary concert in late 1992 and felt Johnny was still a vital artist who had been unfairly written off by the music industry. Suffering from health problems and recovering from a relapse of his drug addiction, Cash was initially skeptical. The two men soon bonded, however, particularly when Rubin promised Cash a high level of creative control. Rubin told the singer, quote, "I would like you to do whatever feels right for you." And Cash decided to record the first solo album of his career without any accompanying musicians, sitting and talking and playing music. That was when we got to build up a friendship. Rubin recalled, "My fondest memories are just of hanging out and hearing his stories. He didn't speak much, but if you drew him out, he seemed to know everything. He was shy and quiet, but a wise, wise man." Under Rubin's supervision, Cash recorded most of the album in his own Tennessee cabin or Rubin's home in Los Angeles, accompanied only by his guitar. This is a return to Cash's earliest recording style. His first producer, Sam Phillips, had determined that in the 1950s that Cash's voice was best suited to a stripped-down style and a 3 or 4 piece ensemble. Cash on vocals and guitars, backed with another guitarist, an upright bass, and sometimes drums back then. Subsequent producers deviated from this style with more ornate backing. Cash disagreed with Jack Clement in the 60s when the producer tried to give Cash's songs a fashionable, twangy feel and to add frills like orchestral string sections and barbershop quartet-style backup singers. In his autobiography, Cash wrote about his frustration with Columbia Records in the 1970s and 80s, due in part to creative disagreements, such as recording his vocals separately from the backing musicians. So I guess knowing that, that's probably when Rick told him you're going to have a high degree of creative control. He wanted to do that a little bit more than he might have otherwise. Tennessee Stud and The Man Who Couldn't Cry were recorded live at the Viper Room, a Sunset Strip Los Angeles nightclub owned at the time by Johnny Depp. And I've watched a documentary on this nightclub. It's insane what went on there. Not during Johnny's performances, but yeah, just anyway. The Beast in Me was written and originally recorded by Cash's former stepson-in-law, Nick Lowe. Rubin commissioned new songs from several musicians, 2 of which ended up on American Recordings. Down There by the Train was a spiritual or gospel song of redemption by the great Tom Waits. We got a ton of Waits up on the channel, guys. 13 was a more ominous composition by Glenn Danzig, whose heavy metal band had earlier worked with Rubin. Danzig wrote the song specifically for Cash in less than 20 minutes. 2 songs on the album had been recorded by Cash previously. Deli Is Gone for the 1962 album The Sound of Johnny Cash, and Oh Bury Me Not for 1965's Johnny Cash Sings the Ballads of the True West. That iconic album photograph was actually photographed in Australia at Werribee near Melbourne. NMU 9 out of 10, Pitchfork 8.2 out of 10. It received widespread acclaim from critics, appeared in lots of year-end Best Albums lists, and at the 95 Grammys, it won Johnny a Grammy for Best Contemporary Folk Album. Now, before we get started, I'll tell you the music will not be in this video. It will get blocked, but there's a Vimeo link below. You can follow along with me if you just want to know what I think. Hang out here, and you will find out. Start with the album opener, Deli Is Gone, written by Johnny, Carl Silbersdorf, and Dick Toops. A little background on this song. Deli Green was a 14-year-old African-American murder victim who was identified as a likely inspiration for several well-known traditional songs, usually known by the titles Delia or Deli Is Gone or Little Delia. According to reports published in Georgia newspapers, she was shot by 15-year-old Moses Houston late on Christmas Eve 1900 in the Yamacraw neighborhood of Savannah, Georgia, and died at 3 a.m. on Christmas Day. Houston, the newspapers implied, had been involved in a sexual relationship with Green for several months. The shooting took place at the home of Willie West, who chased down Houston after the shooting and turned him over to the city police. Green's murder and Houston's trial in the spring of 1901 were reported in the Savannah Morning News and the Savannah Evening Press. Although Houston reportedly confessed to the murder at the time of his arrest, at his trial he claimed the shooting was accidental. Other witnesses, however, testified that Houston became angry after Green called him an SOB. Houston was convicted and sentenced to life in prison on the jury's recommendation of mercy rather than a death penalty. In a clemency petition after the trial, Houston's attorney cast Houston as, quote, a mere child who got into bad company and so unfortunately committed the act that he now suffers for. He suffered for? Whatever. After serving more than 12 years, he was paroled by Governor John M. Slayton in October of 1913. The songs inspired by Green's murder now appear in two forms. Both forms were staples of the folk revival of the 50s and early 60s. One version, usually attributed to Blake Alfonso Higgs, is known as Deli Is Gone. It's explicitly told from the killer's point of view. The second version, usually attributed to the great blind Willie McTell, is usually known as Delia and is told from the point of view of a loved one of Delia. Among the many singers who have sung Delia are Bob Dylan and David Bromberg. Josh White and Pete Seeger each recorded Deli Is Gone in 1955, followed by Harry Belafonte, Bud and Travis, Burl Ives, the Kingston Trio, and other folk revival singers. Pat Boone had a minor hit with Deli Is Gone in 1960. It was recorded numerous times by country singers Bobby Bare, Waylon Jennings, and of course this one by Johnny. In the video for this particular one on this album, which was the fourth time Johnny had actually recorded, the role of Delia was played by Kate Moss, the great supermodel who was wildly famous at this time. All right, I know there's a lot of background, but I thought it was an interesting story to really understand where Johnny's coming from on this one. Okay, Delia Is Gone. So if you're watching my whole intro, you're like, Sean, it's not Delia, it's Delia. I have never heard that name, right? So I'm sure it's short for Delilah, but Delia's Gone. So I'm not going to go back and reshoot that, guys. You get the whole honest mess ups and all, right? What a powerful song. What a crazy song, right? To write it this way. But Delia, oh Delia, Delia, all my life I hadn't have shot poor Delia. I've had her for my wife. But then, of course, Delia's gone. One more round, Delia's gone. She's talking about going up to Memphis, found her in the parlor, tied her to a chair. She was low down and trifling. She was cold to me, kind of evil, make me want to grab my submachine. I mean, this is some harsh stuff. First time I shot her on her side. Hard to watch her suffer. But with the second shot, she died. And that verse 5 is great. But oh, jailer, I can't sleep because all around my bedside I hear the patter of Delia's feet. And then the verse 6, so if your woman's devilish, you can let her run or you can bring her down and do her like Delia got done. Wow, man. And Johnny just sounds great. His ominous voice like lends so well to a song like this. I'll go to the second track, which Johnny wrote, Let the Train Blow the Whistle. Let the train blow the whistle. I don't even know. I might have said it wrong. Let the train whistle blow. I don't know when I introed it, but let the train blow the whistle. I don't want no aggravation when my train is left the station. If you're there or not, I may not even know. He's talking about when he's dying, right? If you're at my funeral, I won't know. Have around, remember things that they did that weren't so tender. Let the train blow the whistle when I go. And then tell the gossipers and liars, I will see them in the fire, saying they're going to hell, right? He's going to hell too. But then in the chorus, let her blow, long and loud and hard and happy, let her blow. Now, no regrets, all my debts will be paid when I get laid, let her blow. When he's laid to rest, because he was a Christian, we'll get into that later on. He believes he's going to a better place. So really good songwriting there. I mean, just perfect. Now we get to The Beast in Me, written by Nick Lowe, an English musician, was also married to Carlene Carter from 79 to 90, which made Johnny, of course, the father-in-law. The song features slow, mournful music and lyrics describing the narrator's struggle with destructive habits and personality traits. One of the lines is, The beast in me is caged by frail and fragile bars. Johnny actually recorded this before Nick did. This is the first time it had been recorded. The Beast in Me, I know it was written by Nick Lowe, but I mean just tailored to Johnny. The beast in me is caged by frail and fragile bars, which I mentioned in the opening. Restless by day and by night rants and rages at the stars. God help the beast in me. So during the day, you've got to put on your best face, but at night, probably with the drinking and the drug use and whatever else that comes out, the beast in me has to learn to live with pain and how to shelter from the rain. In the twinkling of an eye, might have to be restrained. God help the beast in me. Sometimes it tries to kid me that it's just a teddy bear. which kind of suggests that Johnny dealt with this from a young age. He said in an interview in 1994, "The Beast, he was there when I was born, I think. I think I met him when I was a little boy, when I killed my first snake, probably. I enjoyed it. I guess I kind of liked that beast. We ran down the street together." So there's that two sides of everybody, you know, and God helped the beast in me, kind of wanting, turning to God for that help and clarity on that. So just a really powerful song with the acoustic and Johnny's voice. Now we move on to Drive On, no pun intended, written by Johnny. It was Johnny's return to the topic of the Vietnam War, which he had previously addressed in 1971, singing in Vietnam Talking Blues. Well, that song was an autobiographical account of Cash's experience of becoming disillusioned with the war during his and June Carter Cash's 1971 U.S. tour in Saigon. In Drive On, he adopts the point of view of a soldier fighting in the war. While Cash volunteered to join the Air Force during the Korean War at the age of 19, he spent most of his service stationed in Germany working as a Morse code interceptor. While introducing Drive On during his and Willie Nelson's VH1 Storytellers concert, he explained that he was inspired to write it while reading books about the war with June. Johnny later said, "Since I had my 60th birthday, I've been using that expression, drive on, a lot. I'm trying to learn that I can't sweat the little things the way I used to. So what if I've got a broken jaw? Could be worse, could be a broken back. Screw it. It don't mean nothing. Drive on." Let's go, Johnny. Drive on. Powerful song. You know, he talks about everything that kind of happened to him in Vietnam. He said, "It's better than not coming back at all. Many a good man I saw fall. And even now, every time I dream, I hear the men and the monkeys in the jungle scream. Drive on. It don't mean nothing. My children love me, but they don't understand. I got a woman who knows her man. Drive on. It don't mean nothing. Drive on." And Johnny actually borrowed this phrase from a 1982 Vietnam novel, The 13th Valley, which he read in 1992. And the author was just talking about seeing all this bad stuff happen. But he just had to say, like he's driving by all these people, or walking by all these people in his company who had died or were hurt really bad. He said, don't mean nothing. He had to learn to say, just F it and drive on. So, powerful song there, of course. Now we're up to the fifth track, Why Me, Lord, written by Chris Christopherson. It's a country and gospel song. It was recorded by Chris in '72, featuring backup and vocals by soon-to-be wife Rita Coolidge and up-and-coming singer Larry Gatlin. It was released on the album Jesus Was a Capricorn in 1973. It became the biggest hit of his career. I definitely know who Chris Christopherson is. I know him more from acting than singing, but didn't know he was ever I always thought he was a huge star, but in the music world. But he wrote the song during an emotionally low period of his life after having attended a religious service. He said he went with friends to the church where he was moved by Larry Gatlin's song, Help Me Lord. He said he never thought of needing help, but he's at a low point in his life when the pastor asked the congregation, is anybody feeling lost? Up goes my hand, Chris says. The pastor then asked, are you ready to accept Christ? Kneel down there. I'm kneeling there, Chris continues, and I carry a big load of guilt around. I was just out of control crying. It was a release. It really shook me up. He later said it was just a personal thing I was going through at the time. I had some kind of experience that I can't even explain. Chris had met June Carter Cash and Johnny Cash in a hotel room in 1972 to play them two songs he had written. Christopherson had just attended a rough screening of a movie Johnny and June were heavily involved in, entitled The Gospel Road. He played Cash the song Burden of Freedom, which was used in The Gospel Road. So both of them got taken up by Johnny. And as I was kind of alluding to earlier, is Chris's only major country hit. Went to #1 on the Billboard Country charts. Peaked at 16 on the Billboard Hot 100, so crossed over. But it had at the time one of the longer runs, 19 weeks in the top 40, and the most chart reversals in one run on the Hot 100, going up and down. It really didn't happen back then that way. It went up, when it went down, it just kept going down. Spent 38 weeks in the Hot 100 consecutively, almost tying the record set by Johnny Mathis's song Wonderful, Wonderful, which was on the charts for 39 weeks. This song, Chris's version, ranked 6th on the Billboard list of year-end Hot 100 singles in 1973. I just tell you all that info. Why? I don't know, man. Just because it interests me. It was interesting to me that was the deal with Chris. So let's check it out. Why Me, Lord? What a fantastic song, man. Johnny sounds great. You hear the vulnerability, but the power in his voice. Christopherson did a fantastic job writing this. I mean, I'm a Christian, and most contemporary Christian music I cannot stand. This is fantastic. Why me, Lord? What have I ever done to deserve even one of the blessings I've known? Why me, Lord? What did I ever do that was worth love from you or the kindness you've shown? And then that chorus, Lord, help me, Jesus. I've wasted it, so help me, Jesus. I know what I am. Now that I know what I've needed you, so help me, Jesus. My soul's in your hand. And saying, in verse 2 that maybe he can pay it back by showing someone else what he's been through. Just a great, powerful song. Now we go to the 6th track, 13, the one written by Glenn Danzig, most famously the founder of Misfits, who may appear in one of my album drafts in the 80s if you haven't checked that series out that Trey and I did. He also wrote songs for Roy Orbison. 13, what a powerful track. Great writing there on Glenn Danzig. I know he said he wrote it in no time, that he wrote it in, I think he said 20 minutes is what I talked about at the start. Glenn also did a version of this where he added another verse and flipped verses 2 and 3, but remember, he wrote this for Johnny. He later on redid it for himself. So just a really, really good track. Bad Luck Wind Blowing at My Back. I was born to bring trouble to wherever I'm at. Got the number 13 tattooed on my neck. So just showing you that 13 is bad luck, all kinds of bad stuff associated with that numerology of 13. The chorus, I was born in the soul of misery, never had me a name, they just gave me the number when I was young. And then verse 2, got a long line of heartache, I carry it well. The list of lives I've broken reach from here to hell. Bad luck when blowing at my back. I pray you don't look at me. I pray I don't look back. And then repeats that chorus twice. As all these songs have been so far, short, sweet, and powerful with Johnny and his acoustic. Now we go to Oh Bury Me Not, introduction, A Cowboy's Prayer, written by John Lomax, Alan Lomax, Roy Rogers, and Tim Spencer. The song records the plaintive request of a dying man not to be buried on the prairie away from civilization. In spite of his request, he is buried on the prairie. As with many folk songs, there are a number of variations of that theme. This track combines a poem published in 1915 with the traditional Western song. Johnny had previously recorded the two together almost 30 years earlier in 1965 for his double concept album, Johnny Cash Sings the Ballads of the True West. The poem, A Cowboy's Prayer, was published by Charles Badger Clark in the collection Sun and Saddle Leather. The traditional song, Oh Bury Me Not, also known as Bury Me Not on the Lone Prairie, The Cowboy's Lament, The Dying Cowboy, or Bury Me Out on the Lone Prairie, is a traditional Western song first published in 1910 in John Lomax, who's given part songwriting credit, his cowboy songs and other frontier ballads. The song Bury Me Not was derived from a sailor song, The Sailor's Grave or The Ocean Burial, which was published in 1839. The reason why the liner notes show all these writers is Johnny's performance is influenced by their versions, and Johnny always gave credit where credit was due. Just a really cool song. I mean, the first 2/3 of it are just really spoken word, And I mean, Johnny could have had a career like James Earl Jones and Morgan Freeman, man. That voice, man, it has so much power. And he's just talking about basically, Lord, I've never lived where churches grow. I love creation better as it stood. And just talking about he doesn't see God in the churches, but out there on the plains. And he's glad that you made me. I thank you, Lord, that I'm placed so well, that you've made my freedom so complete, that I'm no slave to whistle, clock, or bell, nor weak-eyed prisoner of Waller Street. And saying basically, Lord, just let me be a good man. Let me treat others the way they should. And then he gets in the bridge in the outro where he gets into that Lone Prairie song. Oh, bury me not on the lone prairie. These words came low and mournful from the pallid lips of a youth who lay on his dying bed at the close of day. Oh, bury me not. And his voice failed there. But we took no heed to his dying prayer. In a shallow grave, just 6 by 3, we buried him there on the Lone Prairie. So just a well put together, song, and it's more almost like a piece of art. Now we go to Bird on the Wire, written by the great Leonard Cohen. We have a ton of Cohen stuff up. I did a couple top 10s of his for another patron, Osman, and a couple album reactions. There's stuff of Leonard up, so I actually know Leonard well, which I didn't 3 years ago when we started this channel. But this is one of Leonard's signature songs. It was recorded in September of 1968 in Nashville, included on his 1969 album, Songs from a Room. Judy Collins was the first to release it. Joe Cocker also covered it on his second studio album the following year, because that's how we did it back then. Everybody covered everything. In the 60s, Cohen lived on the Greek island Hydra with his girlfriend Marianne Alon, the woman depicted on the back cover of Songs from a Room. She has related how she helped him out of a depression by handing him his guitar, whereupon he began composing Bird on the Wire. So I think that's where there's a tie-in for Johnny on this album. And Leonard described this song as a simple country song. Bird on a Wire. Johnny's perfect for this song. Like, the writing on the song is so fantastic. Cohen's one of the best songwriters of all time, so underrated. But, you know, he's talking about how he's just not been a good guy. Like a baby stillborn, like a beast with his horn, I've torn everyone who reached out for me. But I swear by this song, by all that I've done wrong, I'll make it all up to thee. Just fantastic, man. And it ends with like a bird on a wire, like a drunk in a midnight choir. I have tried in my way to be free. Johnny's voice and just the slow delivery with the acoustic is absolutely fantastic use of this song. Now we're going to go to the song that was by far downloaded the most on Spotify that I'm using here, Tennessee Stud, written by Jimmy Driftwood, who originally recorded and released it in 1959. It tells the story about the adventures of a man and his horse, a stallion he nicknamed the Tennessee Stud. The song's timeline appears to take place during a period of over 25 years, beginning in 1825 and ending after the Great Flood of 1844. So, all right. Tennessee Stud, just the story that I talked about at the beginning, just tells the story, a nice little story here of the Tennessee Stud and what this guy's been through and the girl that he loved, and he whipped her brother and he whipped her pa. I found that girl with the golden hair. She was riding on a Tennessee mare. I thought it was good. I thought the live version of it, you know, having the crowd there is an interesting dichotomy at everything else that we've had so far. There'll be another song live from the Viper Room, which was the club that Johnny Depp owned, that club at the time. You know, you hearing the people in the background scream and do some things, you know. There's a lot of stuff that went on in that club. There isn't a lot of clubs in America, but it's actually the club where River Phoenix OD'd and died right outside of. So, like I said, there's a lot of stuff on that club. All kinds of artists went there. I know Petty did. Well, there's tons of artists that went there. Just interesting. Johnny went there. Now we're to the track Down There by the Train, written by Tom Waits for this album, just like Glenn Danzig wrote 13 for this album. But interesting because he covered Leonard Cohen, right, on Bird on a Wire. Cohen didn't write it for him, obviously, but he covered Cohen, who I think is one of the greatest writers of all time. And Tom Waits is on the list of best writers of all time. So he wrote this for Johnny. Down There by the Train. What a wonderfully written song. So powerful with Johnny doing it. There's a place I know where the train goes slow, where the sinner can be washed in the blood of the Lamb. There's a river by the trestle, down by Sinner's Grove, down where the willow and the dogwood grow. And if in Christianity, Jesus' cross was made of dogwood, so he's getting all these. Tom Waits wrote this, remember. I mean, what a wonderful writing job. You can hear the whistle, you can hear the bell, from the halls of heaven to the gates of hell. And there's room for the forsaken if you're on time, if you're there on time, if you washed of all your sins and of all your crimes. If you're down there by the train, down where the train goes slow. And so he's just even gives it, there's a golden moon that shines up through the mist, and I know that your name can be on that list. There's no eye for an eye, and there's no tooth for a tooth. I saw Judas Iscariot carrying John Wilkes Booth. That's a great line right there. And then the hope and all of that. And I've lost all of your hope. If you've lost all your hope, if you lost all your faith, I know you can be cared for, and I know you can be safe. All the shamefuls and all the whores, and even the soldier who pierced the side of the Lord. And then the fourth verse, well, I've never asked forgiveness. I've never said a prayer, never given of myself, never truly cared. I've left the ones who love me, and I'm still raising Cain. I've taken the low road, and if you've done the same, meet me down there by the train. He's saying there's still a chance in this life. He's basically saying if you haven't accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, there's still a chance no matter what you have done. And that's why he references the soldier at the cross of Jesus. There's always a chance for that. So that was a fantastic song. And the next song is kind of going to go along those same themes. We got Redemption. This one was written by Johnny, thematically tied to the last track, Down There by the Train. Both songs explore the concept of redemption and how even Cash, who once called himself, quote, the biggest sinner of them all, have a choice to redeem themselves. Cash even did a cover of Bob Marley's Redemption song featuring Joe Strummer of The Clash. We actually did a song battle of that way back when. I do remember that. So he liked the, this is not that same song, but I'm just saying he did Marley's Redemption song as well. Redemption, just a song that's the essence of this album, right? Johnny, the acoustic and fantastic songwriting. From his hands it came down, from the side it came down, from the feet it came down and ran to the ground. Between heaven and hell a teardrop fell, in the deep crimson dew the tree of life grew. And the chorus is fantastic. And the blood gave life to the branches of the tree, and the blood was the price that set the captives free. And the numbers that came through the fire and the blood clung to the tree and were redeemed by the blood. And then this next verse is just fantastic, talking about Satan, right? From the tree streamed a light that started the fight. Around the tree grew a vine on whose fruit I could dine. So he's referencing Genesis 3 and Adam and Eve. My old friend Lucifer came, fought to keep me in chains, but I saw through the tricks of 666. Just fantastic. We got two tracks left. This one Johnny wrote. We got Like a Soldier. Like a Soldier. I'm going to read it in the same vein as Down There by the Train, and redemption that it's written to God, to Christ. But it could be written to a woman though too, so don't hold me to that. But I think at this stage of Johnny's life, he was 62 at the time. He's looking at a life a little different way than you look at it in your 30s. Like, let's say, you know, writing him to women. I think now he's writing him to the Lord, but not positive on that. The second verse, but the wild road I was rambling was always out there calling, and you said 100 times I should have died. Then you reached down and touched me and lifted me up with you. So I believe it was a road I was meant to ride. And of course, I'm like a soldier getting over the war. I'm a young man. I'm like a young man getting over his crazy days, like a bandit getting over his lawless ways. I don't have to do that anymore. I'm a soldier getting over the war. So just another one, man. I'm a broken record, but so well written, and Johnny fits so well on this. Just the tone of it just fits this album perfectly. Now we're going to go to our final track and end on a little different way. I don't know, it might be the same sort of somber song, but this is the other one that was at the Viper Room in LA, played live. The Man Who Couldn't Cry, written by Loudon Wainwright III. The Man Who Couldn't Cry, finishing us out. I like this song. I think I was enthralled by the story, Johnny telling it, and they probably put it last because you do have a little bit of that crowd interaction. You actually have quite a bit of the crowd interaction in this. They were just laughing at different parts. Sometimes probably in parts they weren't supposed to laugh, but they're people in a bar drinking. And you get the cheer at the end, so I can see why they finished it off that way. For me, I probably would have either left this song off or put it somewhere else and finished off with Like a Soldier. But it's not that, because this isn't my least favorite song. I don't think I have a least favorite song. I just would have liked the sequencing to be different. That's a minor little quibble, but the story's great, right? This guy just won't cry no matter what. He's got all these horrible things that happen, but at the end he ends up going to heaven, getting his dog back, and everybody who wronged him kind of get their due. The earth was in a perpetual drought, so there's still some biblical stuff here. 40 days, 40 nights, and the 41st day he died. I mean, he didn't write it. Johnny didn't. A guy named Loudon Wainwright wrote it. But, yeah, I mean, a really good tune. So now we come to my favorite tracks, and I keep a list here. I got all these notes, obviously, that I'm reading to you, and I keep all this stuff here, trying to figure out my favorite song, especially on a 13-song album. Go honorable mentions. We'll go Delia Is Gone, Why Me Lord, and 13. My faves, Let the Train Blow the Whistle, The Beast in Me, and Down There by the Train. There's a train motif going on this one. Just a fantastic album. Get to my overall grade. It's real simple, man. Every one of these songs is really good to great. A lot of it is Johnny, and his acoustic are just so powerful that he can sing whatever, and you believe the authority that comes not just from Johnny, but from a seasoned man in his early 60s, right? You just believe it. The production's fantastic because the production's not overdone, right? It's just Johnny being authentic and raw and real, and he had that power to do that, especially later on in his life. So first listen, I'm going to be at an 8.5. I cannot wait to run this series. Next month will be the second album, and I don't know anything about any of these albums. I know one of them Hurts on, but that's all I know, or I think one of them Hurts on. So I haven't even done any of that research. I just kind of want to enjoy them as I come to them. So thank you, Carl, for bringing this one to us. Fantastic stuff. Thanks to all the patrons who support us. If you'd like to support us in any way, like Carl does, the patrons make this thing go. Check out the Patreon link below or the Patreon link in the end screen. I'll put another video there that you may enjoy. Until next time, guys, I will see you.